There's a lot of people going, why would you do that? How would you do that? That's never going to work. Stay true to your desire. When you are aligned to that and you are holding that truth within you, it doesn't matter what anyone else says.
Mel Cunningham is the heart behind Now Zenery, guiding busy professionals to move from burnout to balance. With a blend of energy work and mindset coaching, she helps people feel grounded, energized, and truly in control of their well-being.
Find those people and surround yourself with those people who are your supporters. Look for a mentor who's already doing what it is that you want. Because a lot of times, especially as new entrepreneurs, I'm here to tell you that those who have already done what you're doing or wanting to do, they want to see you succeed.
What's up, everybody? This is Ryan Van Ornum back with another episode of Scaling Up Success podcast. Today, I have Mel Cunningham on our podcast today. Mel, how are you today?
I'm great. Thank you. I'm happy to be here. Thanks, Ryan.
Absolutely. We're super excited to have this conversation with you. Tell us a little bit about Now Zenery.
Now Zenery. So Now Zenery is a high touch coaching and retreats. And so Now Zenery really came out of my personal journey. So I work with a lot of highly ambitious, high achieving professionals as well as entrepreneurs who are tired of the constant hustle and the struggle of trying to or having to choose, right? Having to choose between the success and having a personal life, personal fulfillment. And so I actually just the other day, I just realized I'm coming up on my 6th year anniversary. And it's been a passion project for me because all of the things that I use in my coaching practice are things that helped me, rebuild and build a life that I truly love and desire.
That's super cool. One of the things, I mean, being in the business for 6 years now, have you seen your business evolve?
It's definitely evolved a lot. I actually just had that conversation. I myself work with coaches, right? And I actually just had that conversation with my coach of where and the evolution of my business from the very beginning to where it is today. Because it really is now a very all-inclusive, very highly touch point, customized program, really meeting my clients where they're at. And, I would say like one of the biggest things is when I first started my business, it was all about the system or the process, right? Like I have there was one way I was going to coach, right? And we all need systems and processes, right? But I think really the tweak that I made is really being able to make it very customizable to who I'm working with, which then allows for deeper transformations. Because, when we follow one system, and when we've all been there, right? Especially, as business owners, we find one thing that somebody's doing and we're like, okay, I'm going to do that. And then we try to emulate that. And what may work for one person may not work for the other. And that's the part where I see is really being able to take my clients much deeper and to be able to, support them in that bigger transformation has really been the big change for me, because I just think about, I had one offering that I offered, when I first began my business, and now it's just evolved in this, beautiful collection of, different ways that I can support not only in business, but then also personally as well.
Well, I mean, some of the things that you offer are just pretty incredible stuff. We've had many discussions over this, but tell us the audience a little bit about like these retreats that you offer. It's pretty incredible stuff that you have going on.
Yeah, thank you. The retreats are magical. I just think that the retreats, think about it. Like we're all busy, in today's world, and we're all hustling. We're trying to, do everything. And most often, I talk to people and they're like, I don't have time to take time off. I don't have time for that. I'll make that time when they meet some sort of achievement or goal. And, that's great. And that's who I used to be. And the wonderful thing about retreats is really being able to, take yourself out of your current environment and be unplugged and be in an environment to really, it's all about you. And now that can be very exhilarating, and it can be very scary at the same time, right? But one thing, I mean, I just got back from a retreat, and time again is people are amazed at how much they learn about themselves, right? Because when we
Right.
quiet the noise around us and we unplug from the daily chaos and everything, distractions that are coming about, we can really, in that silence and in that presence, we really start to understand who we are. And that's one of the biggest things that I help my clients do, is really get clear on who they are, who they want to be, and what may be blocking them, stopping them from doing that. Because oftentimes in the day to day, we don't have the time to sit there and ponder that. We may reflect, we may have a moment of that, but then we go on to the hustle, right? And so with the retreats, being able to be really disconnected, unplugged, be in a magical setting to where it's really about you and it's about taking care of yourself. It's about being out in nature. We all know how powerful being in nature is. We have movement, we have, reflections. There's so many different opportunities to really, really dive in and learn more about who you are. And from that, then you can, because so often when people come off retreat, they're like, okay, here's something I'm going to change. Like the biggest thing is somebody just said this the other day, is they're like, re-entry is a real thing. And I'm like, it is so true. Like, it's so true because, we get into that zone and we're like, okay, this is great. This is wonderful. I don't have all of that, like coming at me. But then as soon as you leave retreat, it's all coming back at you. So how do you make that transition and hold on to those things that you started to find out about yourself, those changes that you want to create in your life? And so that's the part that I think is so magical about retreats, is because it really gives you that opportunity to be truly present and really find out, like, coming back to yourself, like, who am I? What do I want? And then that makes you better when you're out in the world doing your business, doing, spending time with family, all of that.
That that's phenomenal. And there's so many, like when you pull yourself out of the day-to-day grind, and then like you said, the noise kind of quiets a little bit and you're able to like reassess and you know re-engage on who you want to be, not like I'm just not the parent, I'm just not the C-suite executive, like all these labels that we have to put on ourselves, and you get to be who you want to be during that time. I think that's really an inspirational type of way of looking at it. Like I can actually get back to who I need to be.
Right. Yeah. And you bring up a great point, Ryan, about labels, because especially like ambitious hustlers, all of us that are running businesses and that, I mean, we do put labels on ourselves and we identify with those labels. And those labels are all external, right? And really what really matters and what creates the change in our life is when we do that inner game, when we start doing that inner work and we start changing and addressing who we truly are, because who we truly are is deep down in there. But oftentimes, with the way life is, we lead everything by the external. So with those labels, like that is so true, because we become oftentimes too what other people think we should become too, right? And so we're always trying to validate what others think we should be doing or how we should be doing it or how we should be showing up. So with that is, I mean, that's what I think is one of the most powerful pieces of the retreat, is really getting connected with who you are, because often, especially as adults, kids are great at this. Adults, we just kind of go on autopilot and we just go through the day. We're just trying to get through that day with all the to-dos and all of that. And so being able to just be quiet and sit and reflect on that, it is so powerful. And I see it time and time again, how, again, you didn't get where you're at today overnight, and you're not going to change it overnight. It's those small little things that you can, start to, number one, create that awareness around, and then two, start making those shifts. That's how you start to compound that and change that. And then that becomes a bigger impact for you overall.
I agree. And like the thing that I kind of see is like the analogy that I use is like like your emotional well-being is not like a Ferrari. It's more like an aircraft carrier. Like you can't turn that thing on a dime. Like it takes time to slowly turn it, and then eventually you get to where you want to be, but it takes day after day, and that positive self-talk, because a lot of times, we're our harshest critic. Would you agree?
Yes. Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, we do have those inner critics that are constantly running around, and like our emotions come from, we have emotions, thoughts, feelings, and all of that is driven by what's happening in our mind. Like, we actually have two minds. We have an ego mind, a right mind. And our ego mind is usually the mind that, it's like, if you think about it, it's like that conscious mind. It's that logic mind. It's always, it's the loudest aspect of it, but it's really the quiet, the right mind, that is the mind that is with our, like, aligned with our heart and our true self, right? And so when we can really start to tap into that, because the ego mind will go with the familiar, will go with what's the normal. And, anytime that we want to step out of that normal box, that comfort zone for us, it's going to, start feeding us those thoughts. Like, why would you want to do that? Oh, you can't do that. You've never done that. And so those are the things where then we hear that, and then we allow that to impact whether or not we choose to move forward or do that thing or show up, be visible in our business. And so when we can really start to understand that, and it starts with that, about getting connected with who you are, and, being able to acknowledge, because we have fear, or because we're like, oh, I don't know, this could be a big jump for me, it doesn't mean we shouldn't do it. It's an opportunity for us to understand, like, what is that triggering for us, and why is that
Right.
triggering for us? And in that time, we also have the opportunity to shift that and change that and be like, yeah, that's who I was. Because again, to your point, right, our emotions are not who we are. Again, we put labels on them, and we're like, that's just how we are. That's just how it is. No, that's a label. We're not. They're a piece of us. They're not who we are. So we have the ability to shift and change that. It's that dynamic of being able to work and, do that. Like I always say, that's the big difference, is doing that inner work. Because as an entrepreneur, as a professional, the biggest change you're going to create in your business, in your personal life, is when you change the inner world that's happening within you.
Love that. So let's dive a little deeper into Now Zenery. So what are you most proud about with this growth of what you've had inside this business?
Well, I think, first of all, I think I'm just lucky that I get to do what I do, because it's truly my passion to help support others actually live a life that they love, and I think, the evolution of it and being able to, grow it from where it was. I mean, because, right, like, we all start a business or we start something and we're like, we're like, who am I to do this? Right. And I think the biggest thing, that the differentiator for me, is just, I've lived this. I know what it's like to live a life where, you give everything to that identity of, like, this is who I am. And, and it looks like you have this perfect, great, wonderful life. And so I know what that's like, and I know what it's like to crash and burn. So I appreciate, and I'm so passionate about helping people understand that that's not the way. There is a different way, and that you can have both of them. And so just being able to evolve the business and see the different ways that I can create impact, because I work one-on-one, and I also work with teams, with corporate teams as well. I mean, the biggest thing, I mean, we all, some way, somehow, we're working, a team could be a family, a team could be somebody that you're working with in the professional environment. And it's all about, how are we working together? How are we supporting each other? So just evolving with that, and seeing the impact, that when we really start to get clear on some things, and we start to focus on stuff that I guess, stuff that's not really in our control, or the stuff that's coming at us because of the world, when we can step back from that and helping people understand that and see that they actually have a lot more power. Because what I see so often is we all give up our power. And yeah. I mean, that's who I was. And so being able to really step into that presence and be able to help show other people that, hey, there is a different way. And quite honestly, most often, it's not as challenging or difficult as you think it is. And those things, other than, I always talk about, it's a combination of, like, energy, mindset, strategy, and lifestyle. And honestly, is probably the part we spend the least amount of time with, because it's not about doing, it's about being. So I'm so proud of the fact that, like, being able to, help and support others to see that, and see that there is a different way. I mean, like I said, I just feel that I'm lucky, and I enjoy doing this, and I enjoy seeing the difference that it makes, because I see it on so many levels. Because even when for example, if I work with somebody one-on-one, it's not just them that are impacted, it's those around them that are impacted. And so being able to help support that and really make that change, I mean, it's my passion. It's what I live for.
I absolutely love that. And that it's so critical because you exude it and just when you talk. You can hear the passion coming out from exactly, what you bring to the table with your clientele. So that's fantastic. And thank you for sharing that. One of the things that I've seen a lot, probably in like, I mean, the last couple of years, especially since COVID and stuff like that, is this almost like this like de-evolution of positive impact with technology, especially with social media. One of the things that I really grasp towards is this concept of like, don't compare your insides to people's outsides. Can you talk more about that and how it affects people in the corporate world? Because, we're always chasing that next rung, right? That next
Yeah.
rung on the ladder.
Yeah. No, that's a great question. And I mean, I totally agree with you, especially with social media and really with the state of what, and like you said, I really feel like things really shifted after COVID, right? And first of all, one of the biggest things that changed is we started going more like, we started working by ourselves, right? We started creating this separation amongst people, and like, for example, my past career was, I mean, I was out and about, I was seeing clients doing that. And it was like, if you weren't out in the field, if you weren't connecting with people, you weren't doing your job. And then with COVID, that shifted and changed. And then with social media, I mean, everywhere you look, you are something is being thrown at you to compare yourself with. And it goes back to what you were mentioning too before, these labels is like, we have become a society of comparison, and that really messes with our internal mindset as well as what's happening within us, what we are hearing, like, whether or not we feel we are capable of doing something. And so really what I work on, one of the things that I see that is most helpful is we have to get strong with who we are inside so that we can also recognize that that external stuff isn't us. Because, and the thing is that I would say is like, it's not easy to separate ourselves from that. Like, society doesn't make it easy for us. So we have to consciously make that decision. And that's the piece where I think the biggest shift happens is when you get really clear and you're really confident and you stand into the power of who you are, then you can separate yourself from that noise and you can understand that that's just, just because they are that doesn't mean. And it's hard though, because I see it in
Right.
corporate, like, especially, I mean, and the other thing is I see sometimes too, like I work with both men and women, but I work a lot with women. And one of the things, especially in the corporate environment, is this comparison. So not only do you have the comparison of the person who's, your direct maybe counterpart, but then you have the comparison of male and female dynamic as well. And being able to, what I have found is the one thing that can create that change and allow you to be able to navigate that through from a place of empowerment is when you know who you truly are and when you are confident in that self. And, with teams, the other thing I see too is, a lot of leaders, it kind of backfires actually. And this might get a little pushback, right? But it kind of backfires because leaders want to pit employees, team members against each other because they think by doing that, it will create more of an influence and desire to do better, right? And they'll get
Right.
more output from their employees.
Yeah.
And I'm here to tell you, it actually has the reverse effect on it. So when we can really know who we are, and that's why, like I said, it's as leaders in a corporation, it's your responsibility to be able to provide the space and the dynamic for your employees to shine and be their true self, and to recognize that difference is actually an asset.
Right.
And by being
Yeah.
able to use those strengths of each individual on your team, you will go much further. And so, like I said, sometimes that can be a little controversial, but I have seen it time and time again that the one thing you can do is just know who you are and know that that is, again, the key difference. And the difference in what I do is it's the inner game versus the outer game. And everyone focuses on the outer, and the outer doesn't matter because when you change the inner, your outer will change. And
Fantastic.
most often we think the opposite. When
Yeah.
this changes, this will be. And I'm here to tell you it's the direct opposite. And when
I
you
love
focus
that.
on the inner, the outer will change.
That's awesome. That's like chef's kiss. Good stuff right there. So you talked about a little bit about, working with women in corporate and women business owners and stuff like that. Give one piece of advice that you would give to a female that is starting her entrepreneurial journey, just like you have years ago. What's one piece that you would give them as little nugget, little hack to help them get their business off the ground and get it running?
Stay true to you and what you want, because there's a lot of people who are going to tell you, like when you share your dream and when you share your ideas, surround yourself with people who are supportive and who are there to help lift you up, because there's a lot of people. I mean, I know even for myself, when I started my business, is there's a lot of people going, why would you do that? How would you do that? That's never going to work. And so stay true to your desire, to what you want. And just, when you are aligned to that and you are holding that truth within you, it doesn't matter what anyone else says. And find those people and surround yourself with those people who are your supporters. And also the other thing is, also I always look at saying, look for a mentor or somebody who has already doing what it is that you want to do. And, it's very most often, because a lot of times, especially as new entrepreneurs, we're scared. We don't want to reach out. We don't want, like, why would they want to support me? Why would they want to help? I'm here to tell you that those who already done what you're doing or wanting to do, they want to see you succeed. And most often they will be your biggest cheerleaders. So surround yourself with those people as well.
Can't answer it any better than that. I love that. So, Mel, I always love talking to you. You always have just a plethora of great information and nuggets for people. Thank you so much for being a part of everything today. How can people get a hold of you if they want to be a part of your Now Zenery program, business that you got going on, your mentorship and coaching pieces?
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's been so much fun chatting with you today. And yeah, so I'm on all the socials at Now Zenery. My website is melcunningham.com, and happy to just have a chat, and any questions, any way I can support anyone, I'd love to chat.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Mel. Always a pleasure getting to chat with you. We're going to do it again soon. Thank you so much. Really appreciate your time today.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Absolutely. Once again, Ryan Van Ornum with Scaling Up Success Podcast. Thank you so much to Synergist for being the sponsor of this podcast today. Have a wonderful day, everyone.